I mean, you kind of go back, you get to watch the tape and get to review some things. And I think, it's a lot like what we felt in the game. The first half was just, kind of just a little bit off here and there. It was just kind of one of those deals, man. It was just kind of snowballing a little bit. I mean, we even had 2 drops, where the sun was in our eyes. I think we have sun for about 10 minutes, when we have a 6 o'clock kickoff, and it was just kind of that type of half. And there's value in playing those types of games. And there's certainly value in finding a way to come out and play well in the second half and win. Again, just really proud of our kids for, they stick together and they play and they just kind of believe in what we're doing. They believe in each other. And, that takes you a long way. I think our defense has been really stout, particularly whenever we needed them. And they've kept us in games, and that's what we've done here for a long time. Special teams is no different. Really good execution and game changers for us. Again, punt return game was big. Kickoff coverage, we got guys flying down the field and playing, and I believe effort takes care of a lot of things. You're not going to execute perfect all the time. The other team, they're going to get coached. They've got good players. They're going to make plays, and they're going to do things that give you problems. And I think you just got to keep plugging away, and the cumulative effect of playing physical, continuing to run the ball, continuing to hit people on defense, and put pressure on the quarterback. Those things end up leading to good things in the end. So a lot of things on that tape that no doubt we've got to continue to fix. And I think the biggest thing for us is just consistency in our execution in all 3 phases for 4 quarters. We're looking for that, full game effort from all 3 phases. And, we're going to continue to work until we get that. And then once we get that, we're going to try to find a way to do it better. That's what it is. And especially early in the season, you have to understand that, you're not there yet, no matter where you're at. If you're the same in week 2 that you are in week 12 or 13 or 14, whatever it is, then you haven't done it the right way. So for us, there's a lot of improvement to be made, and I think the consistency is the key for us.
Is there a particular thing after reviewing the tape that you noticed as far as the execution was that was starkly different between the first and second halves?
Yeah, I think in the run game, the issues came from, and probably, we hammered it home maybe a little too hard. I felt really strongly that their front, particularly their interior on their D-line, was really stout. And we talked about having to fire off the ball and get movement on the double teams before we came off to the backers. And I think we were maybe a little, overzealous on that. We came off the ball. We were running off the ball, but a little bit out of control. And we didn't get to the backers on their fits. The double teams were getting movement, but we're out of control and not getting to the second level. The backs, we pressed all week, talked about being decisive and making the decisions. And I think they were a little impatient on a couple of them. At quarterback, I felt like we could have taken some more of the easy ones early, some of those easy throws, and we didn't. And that would have taken a little bit of pressure off of the O-line and running backs. And I think, for us, like I said, we had a couple drops early that, kind of, really on the far sideline where we're headed towards the tunnel that were kind of right in the sun that, very uncharacteristic of us. And so it was just some of those things that, just kind of happened a little bit. But in the second half, we didn't change the run plays we were doing. We didn't change the way we were packaging it. We just we executed a little bit better, and certainly started pushing the ball down the field, and that helped as well.
Coach, there were a ton of penalties. I think it was 8 in that first half alone. How do you clean up those mistakes and better yourselves going into this week?
You got to go back and see where it went wrong. A lot of times. The penalties, particularly when we talk about pass interference and those things, it comes down to technique. At some point, you lost your technique. Maybe it was eye discipline. Maybe it was footwork at the line of scrimmage or hand placement. And you get to a position where you for lack of a better term, you kind of panic with the ball in the air, and you got to have poise in those situations and just play through. You trust your technique and play out of phase football. The roughing the passer calls. Those are tough because none of those were egregious. I understand the game and what they're trying to do with the quarterbacks, so we'll try to, pull off and do a better job there. The pre-snap penalties, the 2 false starts on offense, we had some issues there that, I discussed with the officials that I'm not going to get into. And then defensively, we did have one offsides penalty, and we locked in. They did a lot of freeze plays, and our defensive line, they got us on the first one, and after that, we did a pretty good job keying in on the ball and playing. So, those things, everything that's technical, you try to coach the technical part of it. It's not just the penalty, don't do it. It's okay, well, how can we avoid it next time, and how can we do a better job of it? And so, that's part of coaching, right? As you go back and review it, and it's not just, the answer is not just don't do it. The answer is how can we fix it with a technical, correction.
And obviously it's extremely early, but what is it about Rice that you feel like is going to present the biggest challenge for you guys?
They're the most multiple on offense and defense that we've played. They're really, really well coached. Those guys have a good scheme, and their players understand it. You can tell that. On offense, they're more gap oriented than they are zone oriented. And that's a little bit different. When a team plays with a true fullback at times, that's really unique in today's game. You don't see it a whole lot. Defensively, they've kind of changed their deal a little bit. They're pressuring a whole lot more. They're doing some of those things. So we got to be really sound and be prepared to handle the movement, be prepared to handle the pressures. And then, I think on game changers, they play really hard. Very solid scheme and good specialist play, which that's a recipe for success in special teams. So we've got to play faster. We've got to execute at a very high level. Our specialists have to play with a lot of detail and play really effectively for us to go out there and have success in that phase as well. So they're a well coached team. They're the best team we have played so far. 3 weeks into the season. So for us, we got to execute and communicate at a high level and make sure that we, find a little more consistency. It's kind of, just kind of been the thing a little bit.
You mentioned that Rice is the best team you played so far. Added to that, it's also your first road game. Does that add a little extra, towards this challenge in preparing for this team?
It makes it a little bit different. I don't know if it adds to it. Sometimes playing on the road is a little bit easier. There's a little bit less distractions for players, coaches, everybody included. You kind of get in your bubble and you go and that's all that you're really worried about. So I expect our guys to handle that well. A lot of these guys have been on trips before. Some of them have not. But we execute even our home games, we kind of try to get them away from the facility and we kind of get them together. So once we get to the hotel, all that stuff will just be kind of status quo for the way that we do it.
Coach Osai, I don't know anybody would have predicted him being your leading tackler. Just tell us about the game he had and what went into that.
Casey's a good one, man. He's a good young player, and we've had a lot of hope for him from the beginning. I think last year we made a decision early in the year to play him on special teams, and feeling that getting him game experience in more controlled settings, right, where it's one play and then he's out and you can talk to him. We felt like that would pay off for him in the long run. And, he's had a great spring, great fall camp. Everyone in our building is really excited about him and the potential that he's got. And so for him to go out there, he's a really good athlete. He's physically, he's a physical specimen. He plays a physical brand of ball. He runs to the football. He's a smart kid. He communicates really well. And he's got elite leadership qualities, for a young guy that sometimes takes a while to develop. He's born with it. And he's going to be a really good one for us. The way we play, you never know who's going to be the guy, but I don't think anyone's surprised. Certainly happy for him and proud of him because he's worked hard for it. But I don't think any of us are surprised by it. He had a heck of a game. He's flying around out there, making tackles, communicating really well. Those guys did a lot of stuff on offense, a lot of check with me's, a lot of unique formations, a lot of different personnel groups. And, at inside linebacker, you got to play quarterback of the defense, and you got to get the whole thing set up. And he did a really good job of that.
I know a lot of people struggle with the whole idea, and you hammered the point on Saturday about the two quarterback thing, but have you sensed that the quarterback in the offense is just, kind of handling it as well as it seemed like it?
Oh, heck yeah. Those two guys have handled it great. We talked about it from the very beginning, with them, and told Chandler from the very beginning, hey, man, Ben deserves to play. And he looked at me and said, yeah, And Ben's been great. Those two guys, they communicate on the sideline. They talk about what they're seeing. They give really good feedback. They get each other kind of ready to go. And, they cheer for each other as much as anybody. So it's going really well with those two. Said it from the beginning, I think for a guy like Ben that, you don't ever want anybody to get hurt, ever. But having him get this experience and this confidence playing really well, if we ever need him, he's got confidence in himself. Our team certainly has confidence in him. And, we as coaches do because we've seen him do it. So, I just think there's a lot of positives in it. And as long as he keeps playing well, we can continue to do this where, it's a starter and a backup like we do at a lot of positions. And, he ended up getting a few more series because the game got out of hand in the second half. But in the future, hopefully we'll be able to start getting some of the young quarterbacks in if we can ever get in that position again. But, I think playing him 2 to 3 series, I think is really fair to him. I think it's fair to our team. And I think as long as, we continue to play well at quarterback with both of those guys, I think it's something that I'd like to continue as long as we continue to play well.
This week there were a lot of significant victories by the Sun Belt. Can you address that a little bit?
Well, the most significant one to me was ours, but yeah, no. I mean, golly, man, what a weekend. We pull for each other, and that's something that there's no doubt about it. When you play, it's all business against each other, but I can promise you, we were pulling for every one of those teams. Georgia State included. They were close on theirs too. But, Marshall, we saw it firsthand last year, and I've never played Notre Dame. I have no experience with that, but I know what Marshall has. And playing them last year, I know they've got a heck of a team. They've got, really good athletes. They've got great scheme, great coaches. And, what they did last year in year one was really impressive. To do, year two, you expect them to be even better. App State, we've seen that firsthand many, many times. And, to go and lose a game the week before in the manner that they did, where they had a lot of chances to win it in a shootout, then to go to Texas A&M. I've played there before. That's not an easy place to play. To go down there and win it in a completely contrasting style of play, that's, that says a lot about their team, and we know what those guys are made of. They're never out of the game. They're always in it. I just think it's great for our conference, and we just want to continue to do our part to represent the conference well, and and take care of the one that we have in front of us.
Through the first 2 games, what's been the overall, assessment from the coaching staff of how Chris Smith has played, and are there things that you guys feel like you might try to push a little more out of him?
Well, you're always trying to push the most out of everyone. It doesn't matter if they're a 6-year senior or they're a true freshman. You always feel like there's more you can get out of them. And Chris is the biggest critic of himself. I thought he played really well in the game the other night. The touchdown run that he had was really it was a really impressive run. It was 3rd and 3, if I'm not mistaken, and he hammered it up in there. It was kind of a tight window, and he went in there, face first and hit it. And then, you just see his effort and desire and strain along with the whole front side of the offensive line and the tight ends. It was just an effort play. And, Chris has played really good for us for a long time. Certainly he missed a couple runs. You're going to do that every game. I don't care who you are. It's going to happen like that. But he made some really nice runs for us. He's a threat out of the backfield. So having him in there, for us is just, it's all good for us. And I think he's got to continue to play well. He prepares really well. He's done a great job in pass protection, which is something that early on in his career he was not very good at. And he's trying to become a complete back. And that's what you want. And, really, really pleased with Chris's play. His leadership, probably as much as anything in that room with a bunch of young guys that need some leadership, and he does a great job of, he boosts them up. He gives them confidence when they need it. He's hard on them when they need it. But no, Chris has done a good job for us. The way we do it, is just kind of been. We haven't had a lot of guys. There's not. Some nights, you're going to split those carries, and it's going to happen like that. But when he's getting his, he's doing a good job with it.
Coach, Rice has a pretty big defensive line in particular. They have some guys that could be draft prospects. What are some of the challenges that their front seven, in particular the D line, is going to present your ball club Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of, you said it right there. I mean, they're big up front, on the inside. They are big. I think number 91, that defensive end is he's a real guy. He's a potential problem there. Big, long, athletic guy. He's disruptive, at the point of attack, and and really a pretty good pass rusher. So, their front, I think, is a really solid group. We're going to have to be on our A game to make sure that we're, getting in the combinations, but then keeping our eyes off to come off on linebackers, because their linebackers diagnose quickly and plug very fast. They're really well coached, and those D linemen, they're going to eat up double teams, and they're going to try to do a good job and hold the point, and let the backers play fast to it. So, definitely right there, it'll be a challenge for us up front. But it's one that, our guys have answered the bell, and, we need to go do it again. We got to establish the run. And I think for us, again, even if it's not great early, you got to continue to do it. You got to continue to run the ball, because at the end of the game, you've got to be able to run the football. And for us, last week, I think it was a really good sign of things to come, right? Even when it's not great early, you keep plugging away and keep chipping away at it. In the end, you have success when you need it. So definitely going to be, it always starts with running the ball. And, for us against these guys this week, we've got to be on our A game.
Coach, was the offensive line rotation similar to the first game? And how would you evaluate progress or not progress with the O-line from 1 to 2?
I thought the communication was a lot better, truthfully. We had a couple of ID issues on some looks that were a little bit unique, and we're going to get that because we play a bunch of different formations, and you're going to have that a little bit. The communication was a lot better. Which is number one, right? It's got to start there. But I thought that the combinations were better. In the first week, I felt like we were just a little off on all of them. Last week in the combinations, we're fitting them good. We were just, a little bit out of control. And once we got that in check, it was really good after that. So, yeah, the rotation was kind of the same. George Jackson's a young guy that just has got to continue to get reps. He's playing them better, but the guy's got a really high ceiling. And James Ohamba, James has kind of come to life moving the tackle a little bit. A guy that really, I thought he was long enough and athletic enough to do it, but we still said, all right, guard is probably going to be his niche for us. He's really come to life when we made this move to tackle and played really well. So, the rotation, again, in the long run is better, because in the long run, you hope you don't ever have anybody out, but maybe it's a game, maybe it's two, whatever the case may be, the more that they get to play early and know that we believe in them and know that they can do it. I mean, there's a big difference between thinking you can and knowing you can, if that makes any sense. You work really hard and you go out there, and before you do it, you think you can go do it. Well, once you get a taste of it, and once you get to do it, then you can, and it's a totally different type of confidence. So the rotation has been good, and I'm giving you guys a little sneak peek, but Landon Burton will be back this week, so that adds 8 to your rotation. And Landon's a guy that we've been fired up on for a long time. So, we're going to manage his play count, coming off injury. Certainly, you don't ever just throw somebody out there. But it'll be good to have him back in the mix a little bit, and he'll add some depth in there, and really quality depth for us.